This is Money on Main Street. It's now time for our one-on-one chat with our featured CEO of the week. This week we have none other than expert business coach Jim Nemle. Now you may have heard Jim's distinctive voice on his radio program, Building Your Extraordinary Business, on blogtalkradio.com/Jim-Nemle. He's also made a name for himself on Long Island as a certified financial literacy trainer. He also served as a certified business planning trainer on the faculty at the C.W. Post Long Island University campus. And we thank you so much for joining us today, Jim.
Thanks for having me again, Giovanna. It's wonderful being here.
Now, today we want to talk about coping with failure. Anybody who's been in business long enough has had setbacks, disappointments, failures. But there was a study that I found really interesting. The CDC just came out with information that shows that from 1999 to 2010, the suicide rate was up 30% for people between the ages of 35 and 64. Do you think that it's because there's greater awareness, greater reporting, or are people having a harder time coping with failure?
Business, in the world of business, business is nothing more than a microcosm of society, and society as a whole is under siege economically. Now, extrapolate that out over these small businesses. These poor people are being pounded day in and day out with what they consider to be failures. And instead of finding other means in which to cope, they're just hanging on to what's failing.
So let's say you're in this kind of situation. Why is it that some people are able to bounce back just like that and others really can't?
In business, you have two different groups. You have business owners. Those are people that can afford to own a business. And then you have an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, their risk tolerance is sky high. They'll fail and then they'll start all over again. Fail, start again. But a person that's a business owner, they're not that way. And that's a problem.
So how do we train people, encourage them, condition them to become entrepreneurial in the sense of risk-taking?
First off, I think that they need to figure out whether or not they can take a risk. If they don't feel that they have that type of a personality, maybe they shouldn't be an entrepreneur.
How do you know?
You'll know because of the fact that if you're used to having that paycheck coming in every week or bi-weekly and you can't live without it, you're not an entrepreneur. If you have to have those benefits and those benefits have to be paid in by your employee or by your company, you're not an entrepreneur.
What if you want to become an entrepreneur? Is there a way to reprogram your brain? Because this is something that could help you out in everyday life.
It can. Reprogramming your brain means you have to come to a full understanding of what being an entrepreneur is. You have to understand it's about risk. You have to mitigate those risks. You have to understand how to get around those risks, but they're risk nonetheless. And important also, will your family be able to get around the risk?
And as a business coach, put on that hat and tell me words of wisdom. How do you help somebody bounce back?
The way you bounce back is, first off, you find a diversion. That's number one. All right, I'm an actor. I actually act. It helps me a lot. I don't have to think about everyday pressures. So find out some kind of diversion to get your mind away from the business, and then sit down and do contingency planning.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us.